Moving on, the opium trade is flourishing in Afghanistan. The prices of opium have more than tripled since August 2021, when the Taliban pledged that the country wouldn't produce any narcotics. Opium farming has become a major source of income for Afghanistan, as the country is facing the poverty and the people are left with no choice. Also, the production of opium in the country is helping the Taliban in funding terror organizations like Qaeda and ISIS. We have a report. Afghanistan has had a long history of opium cultivation and harvest. According to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, the country is the world's largest producer of opium. Afghanistan accounted for some 85% of global opium production in 2020, supplying 80% of all opiate users in the world. According to United Nations report, the 2021 opium harvest, completed in July, marked the fifth year in a row with production at historic highs of more than 6,000 tons, potentially yielding up to 320 tons of pure heroin to be trafficked to markets around the world.
The territory of Afghanistan is the world's largest opium producer, accounting for about 87% of the global production, despite a $9 billion effort over a two-decade period by the United States to deter illegal production in the country. The United Nations has recently assessed that on the territory of the country, 6,800 tons of opium had been produced in 2021, the fifth straight year in which opium production had crossed the 6,000-ton mark, and that the uncertainty resulting from the Taliban's takeover of the country had pushed up opium prices in August and September.
After the fall of Kabul in 2021, opium cultivation boomed in Afghanistan, and its prices have more than tripled. Opium farming has now become a major source of employment under Taliban rule, as many Afghans facing extreme poverty are turning to opium production as a means of survival. The Taliban are unlikely to oppose the cultivation of the narcotic cash crop. In fact, they are hoping to expand their drug income as much as possible. According to the United States Department, the Taliban not only profits through taxes on the opium crop, but also from the laboratories converting opium into heroin, as well as the traders who smuggle the illicit drugs. Estimates of the Taliban's annual share of the illicit drug economy range from 100 million to 400 million US dollars. Also, Pakistan plays a major role in opium drug trafficking, as tons of opium produced in Afghanistan are smuggled to Pakistan and then opium is processed there. According to the executive director of UNODC, the Afghanistan-Pakistan border region has turned into the world's largest free trade zone in anything and everything that is illicit. Drugs, of course, but also weapons, bomb-making equipment, chemical precursors, drug money, and even people and migrants.
According to the UNODC, heroin trafficking routes are primarily conducted by regionally close locations, with the territory of Pakistan accounting for 40% of all heroin trade routes. Tons of opium produced in Afghanistan are smuggled into the western borders of Pakistan and processed there. The heroin is then reassembled into bigger consignments by organized crime gangs in Lahore and Faisalabad before being sent to Karachi and Gwadar for further transportation through fishing vessels in the Makran coast. Mr. Chair, the threat from the escalating trade in Afghan heroin and methamphetamine after the Taliban takeover extends far beyond South Asia, as does the threat of terrorism.
The illegal production of opium in Afghanistan is an advantage for terror organizations like Qaeda and ISIS. It has been the failure of the US and the West more broadly to recognize the complex but clear links between drug trafficking and Islamist terrorism. Had the 2001 invasion of Afghanistan been followed by a US campaign to arrest and prosecute Taliban leaders for their narcotics trafficking activities in American courts, the group's appeal among fundamentalist Muslims might have been severely diminished. If the US does not lead an international effort to tackle Afghanistan's drug production, the Taliban's power and the ability to commit atrocities will only grow. and its narco state will serve as an haven for Al-Qaeda and other violent jihadist groups. As matters stand, the world can expect a major surge in international terrorism and drug overdoses in the months and years ahead.